You know the old saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression? That phrase is incredibly true in our business. In entertainment, your first impression can mean everything. It can mean the difference of booking a job or not booking a job, having an audition or not having an audition. That first impression can get you in the door and make things happen. And for an actor, that first impression is the headshot. First and foremost, casting directors, producers, they're going to see your headshot and they're going to make decisions about whether or not you get seen based on that one image. So it's incredibly important to make that image an investment in your future. And to do that, you want to find the right photographer, someone who's going to work with you to craft the perfect image, the perfect first impression. And I suggest you check out portraitsbypeggy.com. Peggy's been doing photography since the 80s, and she really knows her stuff. And she wants to work with you to craft the perfect captured image, the one that captures the uniqueness of you and helps you book the job. She wants to work with you. She wants to really get into who you are, what sort of jobs you're trying to book, and help you get the perfect image. So check out portraitsbypeggy.com and book your portfolio session today. Welcome back to the Intellectual Podcast, number 194. I'm your host, David S. Dawson, and I'd like to thank you once again for joining us on the Intellectual Podcast. If you're just joining us, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show. You can do so very easily through Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or iHeartRadio. Subscribing helps raise the visibility of the show for everybody and can help increase listenership, as well as making it just easier for you to get tuned in when new episodes drop. So be sure to subscribe to us, and if you don't mind dropping a review on one of those platforms, we would greatly appreciate that as well. Today's episode is Lydia Lea Real, a very dear friend of Whitney Wegman's, and a very talented local actress who is doing a lot of stage productions, not the least of which is the upcoming We the People as part of the San Diego Fringe Festival. She's doing that with our friend Kristen Fogel and Whitney Wegman and a number of other ladies, and they've got a fantastic show that they've put together. And we talk a bit with Lydia and Whitney in this episode about We the People, as well as Lydia's background, where she's from, what brought her into the acting world, and we also discover that she experienced 9/11 in a very personal way, and is probably one of the first persons I've met who was actually in the city that day. So this is a very good episode with a very interesting woman, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I'd also just like to say I saw Wonder Woman last night, and if you have not already gone and seen this film, I strongly suggest that you do. I know I have a bit of a reputation for being a DC cinema hater, but they got Wonder Woman right, and Wonder Woman is fantastic. So make sure you go and check that out on the big screen. It's definitely one you want to see on the big screen. And my hat's off to Patty Jenkins for directing a really just superb superhero film that breaks the gender barrier in many, many ways and is just a delight. And Gal Gadot is wonderful as Diana. And you don't want to miss it. So go check out Wonder Woman. Hopefully I can get some of the intellectual women on a show when I get back into San Diego to talk about this very important film and see where they think it might take the genre going forward. So now let's get into the interview with Lydia Lea Real on the 194th episode of the Intellectual Podcast.
Talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. The Intellectual Podcast starts now.
I love that. All right, I'm focused now. There's just lots of Star Wars things everywhere, and so maybe I just need to take a quick look around so I don't get distracted in the middle.
Yeah, absorb it.
Like, ooh, R2.
Soak it in. It's all here.
I feel like, did you ever see that movie Up?
Yeah.
The dog. Like, hi,
Doug.
my name is Squirrel. That's what I feel like right now. Like, Whitney, and so with the burger, Yoda.
Did you see the little backpack?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I considered stealing it, but then I thought that would be really
Did you see the hat behind you?
No. Where did you get all these toys?
I don't know. Collect them.
My significant other is mildly obsessed right now with Captain America, and at GameStop, I think it is, they have those like backpacks, you know, that are in the
With
shape of the shield.
Yeah.
And he's like, he really wants one. He's 40. Okay. Yeah, which is that's totally fine. But I'm like, honey, what are you going to do with this backpack?
Look at all the toys in this room and bear in mind that there's only one 7-year-old in this house.
True enough.
The rest of the adult males in this house are over the age of 40. And most of the stuff you're looking at in here is not the possession of the child. Just saying.
I'm never going to grow up. I'm not.
What's the point?
There isn't. I mean, I'm an actress, so I can pretend like I'm grown up every once in a while, but...
Yeah. Pretend you're a grown up for an hour or two, and then spend the rest of the time, like, living life and enjoying it. That's what I say.
Yeah. Why not?
All right. So I think we're rolling now. We're here with Lydia Real.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
And so as you just mentioned, you're an actress. How did you get involved with being an actress?
Whitney just, like, dispenses with all of the, like, informalities and just, like, charges ahead. She's like, serious, here's the question. Go.
Let's see.
Find an opening.
Yes. So, I've been acting on and off ever since I was in 4th grade. So, my parents were really big on making sure that we always had a lot of extracurricular activities, you know, and well-rounded. I'm Filipino, so anybody who has Filipino parents, I think
You have to sing,
understand.
you need to act, you should
Absolutely.
model. You did some runway, I bet, when you were a little girl.
At Christmas time, did you have to sing karaoke to get your presents?
I just sing karaoke for everything.
For everything.
Breakfast. Like, I tell everybody I grew up with a karaoke machine in my bedroom.
I want
That is not a
pancakes.
joke.
Sing a song.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, for my sister's wedding, my father got my sister and my brother-in-law for their engagement present a karaoke machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing. So, but anyway, so
I keep
yeah,
threatening to throw a big karaoke party here.
I'm so here. I don't even need to be drunk to sing.
No, I don't drink, so like I'm always sober when I sing.
Yeah, I would love that. You know, played sports, and then my first time performing really was playing the guitar, because it was one of the things that I had to do after school. And
At least they let you play a good instrument. My parents gave me the flute.
the flute's lovely.
Not for a boy.
John Wood played the flute.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know
Still
that.
has it. It's in the closet.
Yeah. That's not a coincidence term either.
Is yours in the closet as well?
No, I got rid of mine a long time ago. No, I played the flute for like 8 years. I was first chair, and I was really proud of it. But like I told my parents I wanted to play the drums. And so they went to the band meeting, and they came home, and I was like waiting for them to come home, anticipating them coming home with the drum set. And they put this little plastic case on the countertop. They're, congratulations, you're in the band. You're playing the flute. I was so crushed.
There's a little bit of a difference
Yeah. Right?
between the drums
Like,
and the flute.
couldn't you have gotten me a saxophone or something? My dad's like, you don't want to deal with reeds. Trust me. I'm like, all right.
So the flute it is.
Flute it was.
So yeah. See what's and then I'm a bit of a daddy's girl, and I'm the oldest, and so I grew up playing a lot of sports and watching sports, and because of that, my mother made me take charm lessons and ballet just to, balance me out. And so my first time on the stage proper was in a dance recital. And while I was not the best dancer at all, I kind of got a reputation for being a little bit of a ham on stage. Even when I messed up, I just kind of smile and like play to the audience. So then, along came the talent show and got into the talent show in 4th grade. And I think I did like a really awful lip sync dance to Tiffany's I Think We're Alone Now. I'm fairly certain that's what it was. And I was wearing like a bongo acid washed denim skirt that had like 3 ruffled tears on it and like a pink mock turtleneck.
You're so Filipino.
I know. And that whole entire year, too, I remember that I had a bob haircut and I walked around with my head tilted the entire time. Every picture that you see of me, everything, my head is tilted. I'm not sure what I was thinking at that time. But anyway, so I think I've always been a little bit of a ham and just kind of stuck with that. I guess they call it like theater bug. Is that what they call it? Yeah, the acting bug. So did that, through middle school, high school. And then it was college time and I had to grow up, quote unquote. But by the time I know, let's see how that worked out. But by the time I got into my junior year of college, I realized the only reason why I wanted to be in school was so that I could do the plays. Mm-hmm. So I actually did the right and dutiful thing as a daughter should do and graduated with my degree. And instead of going and pursuing what my original degree was, I went back to school to become an actress. So,
what was your original degree?
Psychology with a focus in abnormal psychology.
I could see how that could be helpful as an actor, though.
Yeah, really.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very
I didn't
helpful.
get a degree, but I spent plenty of time learning about therapy from the other side of the chairs, but it's been very helpful as a director.
Yeah. It's, it's interesting because so I have my psychology degree and then I went back and I got my theater degree. And I did acting for a little bit after I graduated. And then because of certain, life events and everything, I actually ended up not acting for about 15 years. I'll go ahead and share it. So I was working for Hard Rock Cafe International. Mm-hmm. I was a server and a bartender for them. And one of the really cool things about that company is that once you get hired for the company, you are hired for the entire company. So you can transfer wherever you want to, wherever there's Hard Rock, in the world. And I had just gotten done from being on tour. I was on tour for a year and a half and decided that I wanted to go to an acting academy in New York because that's, what all theater actors are supposed to do. They're supposed to go to New York, right? Right. So got into this fantastic acting academy, was getting ready to go. I transferred from the Baltimore Hard Rock, which is my hometown. I'm an East Coast girl, to the New York Hard Rock and moved to New York on September 9th of 2001.
Oh, damn.
So,
that's quite the time to make the journey.
Yeah, it really was. So, after all of the events that happened 2 days later, as a matter of fact, my conservatory was about 22 blocks away from Ground Zero. And from my conservatory was on the 12th floor of this building and bay windows. And so from... it just got real, right? Yeah. So
you're the first person I've talked to who's actually in town.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. The conservatory had bay windows that looked right into downtown, and I watched the first plane hit, and I watched both towers fall.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. it was still so many years later. I don't know how to describe it. Well,
I think anybody who's witnessed tragedy, the sort of tragedy where somebody just died.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to explain the emotional impact that has on a person, and especially something as big as 9/11.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure with the passage of time too, the weight of what that impact really means probably also just continues to weigh on the emotion of what you saw.
Absolutely. Truth be told, David, I really didn't start healing properly from that and fully until, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of really great things emerged from that time in my life. I've always been in love with New York, and I got the opportunity to see that city in a way that people don't, think about. Yeah. New York turned into a kind and loving and gracious city. And those really are not terms that people use to describe that city.
Certainly not prior to 9/11.
Right.
But I think this city's kind of held on to a lot of that.
It has.
Because I've only gone to New York since 9/11. Mm-hmm. But I remember growing up with all the stories of how nasty a city is and how dark it is and whatever. But my experiences there have been wonderful.
Yeah.
And each time I go back, I want to spend more time. And I can't get enough of the city when I'm there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was actually there for 9/11 this past year.
Really?
Yeah. That was like incredible. It was incredible to be in that city, on the day.
I'd imagine so. Yeah, it's been a very long time since I've been back there. But so after, all of that stuff happened, of course, immediately it was like, screw this. I need to get home, but the city was on lockdown for almost 2 weeks. It was very difficult to come in and go and leave the city. And,
the whole country was on a weird lockdown for like a week, at least a week. Yeah, no really planes were in the sky. It was haunting. It was bizarre. The very
next day, So I had just met this ensemble, of people that I was in this conservatory with the day before,
Right.
And a bunch of them who lived in New Jersey couldn't get there. And so they ended up staying with me at my place, which was kind of great because we were all terrified,
and you're new to the city. Don't have any family.
They were new, like they're like, what in the hell is going on? So we ended up going back to class the next day because, we got a call from our director saying, come on in, we're going to have a debriefing. It's safe. You can come, and we all took the subway as far as we could, which dumped us out in Times Square. And it was in the morning. So this is the day after. It was, 7:30 in the morning, and Times Square is known for being like that place that just never sleeps. It's always alive. There's all these lights. And do you guys remember the scene from Vanilla Sky when he's running through Times Square and it's empty and no one's there? Mm-hmm. That's what Times Square was like. We got out of the subway and we walked right down the middle of Broadway and it was just empty. It was like really kind of eerie and creepy and none of us said anything and it was really kind of weird. So yeah. But anyway, so, made all the arrangements, landlord, conservatory, all the last thing that I had to do was to go to the Hard Rock and let them know that I would like to transfer back to Baltimore. I wanted to go back home. And I walked into the Hard Rock on September 13th. And this is when the Hard Rock Cafe was still on 57th Street, so the old Hard Rock Cafe in New York. And they had turned the entire second floor of the cafe into an emergency relief center for all the volunteer workers at Ground Zero. Mm. And my heart kind of went out to that. And, after you've seen something like that and been a part of something like that, like, how can you not want to be part of that? So I said, well, I'm on lockdown, so I can't go anywhere. So I'll just hang out and I'll help, with a cause for a couple of days, and a couple of days turned into a couple of weeks, turned into several months, turned into 3.5 years that I ended up staying in New York. And that's when my acting career, to get back to the original question, actually stopped during that time period in my life. And I, in the 3.5 years I was in New York, I became very, very involved with the Hard Rock Ambassadors, which is like their philanthropy volunteer group. I
could see how that could evolve out of your experience with 9/11.
Yeah. I ended up working very closely with Mayor Giuliani and September Smiles and a whole bunch of different 9/11 volunteer organizations, just through, the Hard Rock and being an ambassador and all that stuff. And it was my work with the ambassadors that actually got me noticed in the company. And they asked me to become a manager from that. So I ended up becoming a manager for Hard Rock, was a manager for them for about 7.5, almost 8 years, which eventually led me out here to California. In that time, so this is like a good 15-year span now. In that time, I was not creative at all. I didn't act. I didn't do anything. And then the bug came back, and I started to feel like I was not living the life I was supposed to be living anymore. And I understood that like all of that had most definitely had its purpose for me, but I just kept waking up every day, like not really having a lot to look forward to. Mm-hmm. And it was like that creative thing was just nagging at me. And so I
think once you have that creative bug, I think anybody else who has it, I think understands what you're trying to say.
Yeah. It was really
nothing
bizarre.
else can quite replace it.
Yeah. And even though I worked for, a company, an organization that is based out of music, I still had like that artistic creative vibe like around. It was kind of like I was
still a
shadow
restaurant.
artist. You know what I mean?
Shadow artist is a good word. You weren't actively
I wasn't
creating.
actively doing it. I was there observing other people doing it. I think that, there was a little bit of a resistance or block, if you will, about doing the creative stuff because of 9/11, because I was there for acting, you know what I mean, when all of that happened. So I think that was probably a big block for me as well. But 15 years I was with the Hard Rock. And one day I just, after many days of waking up, just not feeling right about what I was doing, I walked away from my career. So went in and gave them my notice without really knowing what I was going to do. And that was about 3.5 years ago. And I found my way back to San Diego. I was up in LA when I left the company and decided, screw it. I'm just going to, figure out how I'm going to be a creative and just kind of go at it. And that was 3.5 years ago. And now I am after a lot of like humbling moments and, having to rethink how I could survive without my wine club membership, and stuff like that, like really rethinking priorities, especially financially. I found my way into a creative life, and my entire world now revolves around creativity.
Well, it's really interesting when you find the one thing that you truly find important, like figuring out what else isn't truly that important, like immediately follow suit.
I agree.
Whether that's creative or not, I think that's just kind of the way it works. Once you really know what your heart's singing for you to do.
I completely agree with you. And for the brave people that actually follow that, and can bring that into their lives, the more and more they're going to attract things that, that they're meant to have, meant to do, meant to feel. And then once you have a lot of things in your life that make sense, that are right, the things that don't align start to stick out like really, really prominently. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
what made you decide San Diego over LA?
You have to ask that question?
I want to hear it from her.
Yeah. A couple of things. during that time period, when I left my career, within 6 months, I also left my relationship that I had been in for 9 years. So there's a lot of things that were going on in my life, a lot of big transition. And I think ultimately what it was is that there's a certain serenity in San Diego, and it's quiet, a lot more quiet than LA is. Plus just the energy of LA is very busy and very crazy. And I needed to get away from that because that's what my world was, for 15 years, busy, busy, crazy. And for anybody who works in the restaurant industry, especially for people who are managers, that they know working, as a salaried manager, working a 15-hour shift 6 days a week is not uncommon. Right. You know what I mean? So, I needed quiet. So the short answer, I needed quiet. I needed some place where I could just think. When I lived in LA, I forced myself to learn how to meditate and how to do yoga because I had to. Because I felt like if I didn't, my being, my body, my mind would just explode. And I thought that would be bad.
Meditation is important for LA traffic.
Oh, yeah. And I'm a bad driver. I mean, I'll just be blunt. All the stereotypes that are out there, I'm Filipino and I'm a female. Like, I'm a bad driver. I'm not even going to cover that up. So it was even more frustrating for me. You're laughing because you know it's true, David.
Don't paint me into a corner I can't get myself out of.
You're right. I'm sorry, Mom.
So, Lids, what's funny, I mean, you're still busy, busy, crazy, but at least now it's filled with art and all these creative things.
Yeah.
Can you share with us some of your busy, crazy artist life schedule and all the things that you're involved with right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I do, let me say that you're right, Whitney. I am super, super busy all the time. And it's different because one of the things that I decided when I decided to walk away from my previous life, if you will, was that I really wanted to work towards a life that I did not need to take a vacation from. And so even though I am crazy busy and I probably do work more than 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, it doesn't feel like work to me,
Because it's something you enjoy so much.
It's something that I love.
Love and passion. So
yeah,
it's
my personal destiny, if you will. So, okay, so I think the main thing that I'm involved with right now is the San Diego Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're both involved with that.
Yes.
It's a leading question on your part.
It
really wasn't.
Yeah, I'm super excited about the Fringe Festival.
Well, since you're both here, tell us a little bit about what you guys are putting on.
Yeah. So I'm so thrilled. So Whitney and I are putting together a show.
And Kristen Fogel.
Yes, and Kristen Fogel, of course, yes. I was going to bring you up, Kristen. Don't be mad. With a theater group that Kristen and I started a couple of years ago called the Poolhouse Project. Whitney approached us with this fantastic idea that she had, and we met and we ran with this concept. So we're putting together a show that we have entitled We the People.
And my idea was based on my own personal anxieties over the current political state of our country and being very frustrated with, my inability to really do anything about all the divisiveness. So I was like, hey, I'm going to make art. That's what I'm going to do. And my idea was basically just interviewing people. Interviewing people from...
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine. Something that I do anyway. People from all walks of life, all across the political spectrum, different ethnic backgrounds, different regional backgrounds.
Socioeconomic backgrounds.
Socioeconomic, just people, right? Just talk to people. Because there's a lot of people that I don't necessarily understand their political choices. They're different from mine, and they probably don't understand mine either, but I would like to understand that. I would like to find some common ground. And so that was the impetus was to just talk to people and figure out what they're about, and
yeah, and then what came from that, what has been kind of, I don't know, what's the right word, Whitney? Like
the
developed
thematic development.
Exactly. From that, along with inspiration that Kristen and I found from the Women's March here in San Diego. There are these beautiful like rally posters. Whitney, what's the name of the organization?
It's Amplifier is the name of the organization, amplifier.org, but they're the rally posters that are, the line is We the People, and they're done in this beautiful red, white, and blue pattern.
Yes.
You've probably seen them if you've gone to any of the marches, because Amplifier lets anyone use them free of charge to make posters. You can use them for pretty much anything, just don't sell them. And they're lovely works of art.
They're beautiful.
And yeah, it was a great jumping off point for this idea.
Yeah.
And as we've spitballed through it, it's become less about politics and more about what is it to be American? What is America? And what is the common bond that bonds us together as Americans, as opposed to the things that divide us?
Yeah. I think that, with the current social and political climate that we are in, there's an awful lot of negativity, and we'll just leave it at that. A lot of negativity that is going around in all media, in social media, and I feel like, and same with the rest of my creative team, Whitney and Kristen, feel like there's got to be something more out there that people can focus and use their energy on, you know?
Well, I think politics are inherently divisive.
Yeah.
Because it's yes or no.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when you go to vote, it's yes or no.
Right.
There's no gray in the middle on a yes or no on a vote.
You're totally right. And the reality of it is...
The reality is we live gray lives.
Gray. Yeah. There's lots, And so I think what the three of us ultimately wanted to do was to be able to provide a platform for people to be able to perhaps see, listen, be inspired by people who are different from them, their viewpoints, their... ways of thinking, things that happened to them that speak true to being American, and really to remind people that we are really lucky to be living where we are living right now. America is a fantastic place to live.
Yeah.
And I think that
even with as an unfortunate circumstance as it is right now, it's still tons better than most of the world.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's easy to forget that, especially when we are at, we're in confrontation with each other on a lot of issues that are coming, Well,
I think we're so insular, we're really insulated. It's like we only worry about our own shit. Mm-hmm. And we don't really understand how anything else is going on across the pond or across the Pacific.
Yeah.
All that stuff's just a world away. And, I think Americans can't be bothered to understand how the rest of the world lives.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So our problems seem so bad.
Yeah. Something that...
Because it's all we know.
Exactly. And something that came up a lot in the interviews that we did. I mean, we did what?
Probably like 30 plus?
Yeah, 30 plus interviews. Yeah. This whole concept of diversity, in America came up a lot. And how, think about the melting pot that we are here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of the things that makes us really beautiful, but it's also fundamentally one of the things that makes, our world a little bit difficult, as Americans, if you will.
Yeah.
But
I've seen that in my own family. My dad was as white as they come, Indiana boy. My mom, born and raised in the Philippines, and she came here and they had the three of us kids, but we're the mixed race kids of 30 something cousins. We're the only three who are like truly not white, not all European. And it's really interesting to see my cousins not see that. They don't see us that way. My aunts and uncles don't really see us that way. And so they kind of let their guard down sometimes when they're visiting, and they talk like they talk amongst the family. And the casual racism that pours out of their mouths is so disheartening, but it's all they know.
Yeah.
They live in a mostly white, out in the sticks kind of existence where that's their life, their little tribe of people that they know, and that's all they know. And they don't want to be bothered by, what they see as the coloreds in their state and stuff. But they don't see me that way, and they talk that way around me, and it really it's
disheartening.
It's so disheartening.
Yeah, and it's really common. Mm-hmm. On so many different topics and levels. It's very common. So, I mean, which speaks to what this project is. We just wanted to have a platform where for, an hour, 50 minutes, an hour, we try to expose and hopefully inspire people to at least, pique their interest about something else, about a different train of thought, about, and hopefully, hopefully to give them a little bit of encouragement, inspiration, motivation to do research. Wait, so this character said this about this issue. I'm curious about that. Let me go and do the research, and not on Facebook. You know what I mean? Or whatever it might be.
Hopefully more deep than just the headlines.
Or have a genuine conversation with someone who doesn't have the same viewpoint as you, and don't turn it into a shouting match.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that we're, trying to put together in addition to the shows proper is this concept called the Living Library, where we stole the idea from the San Diego Central Library. They did this a couple of months ago, and we all thought that this was a fantastic idea. So we are trying to put together a panel of individuals that, again, same with our interviewees, range, in different political views, socioeconomic, something a little bit unique about them, and have them be available for people to check out. Mm-hmm. So, we would have a female Trump supporter would be, this individual's sign, if you will, and someone can go and check her out and have a 10-minute conversation with her. So again, we want to inspire people, as Whitney said, to have conversations. Maybe there's something that they want to ask, or maybe.
Where are you going to put all those? The library?
Living Library?
The Living Library. We're looking at doing one at Writers Inc., which is over in Point Loma.
Which Kristen is the executive director of.
And we haven't really determined dates or times for the others, or if we'll do more than one. I think it's dependent on how the first one goes and, how it's received. But then the show, of course, Fringe runs June 22nd to July 2nd. And all of the dates can be found on the Fringe website, which
sdfringe.org.
Yep, David's got that memorized at this point.
/tickets.
Or you can also check it out on www.the...
That's one W shy.
No, I had three www.thepoolhouseproject.weebly.com, and that's where the Poolhouse website is. You can also check out some awesome merchandise designed by yours truly. I think it's awesome. I just think it's awesome that I got a project like that. I really enjoyed being the marketing person on this
She's
endeavor.
Really good at it. If anyone ever needs a marketer.
I didn't really know I was good at it because this is the first time I've had to do it, but it's kind of fun. I got to design a website and get to set up a Facebook, create some merch.
Cool. We'll have to have you step up and do more for us.
ooh, okay.
You guys can't see because it's all audio, but that was an oh shit face. I don't usually get David that well.
You don't usually swear on the podcast either.
Try and keep it clean, but sometimes curse words are the appropriate words.
Yes.
So, Liz, this is not the only project you're involved with Fringe.
It's not.
Would you like to share some of
How many others are you
many others?
participating in?
I actually am doing 3 Fringe shows this year.
That's insane.
It is insane and very serendipitous, I suppose, that none of the shows conflict with each other. You know, so the second project that I'm doing, I am actually directing a musical, Big Kitchen the Musical. Mm-hmm. This is the second time that we have been at the Fringe. We were at the Fringe 2 years ago. I've been part of this workshop project for 3 years now. And it is based on the Big Kitchen restaurant in San Diego in Golden Hill.
This is the one Castellini was talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Eric is one of my creative partners in this endeavor. So Judy Foreman, who is the owner of Big Kitchen, and she also is a philanthropist, and she's been a political activist. She's really, really fantastic. And she's the self-proclaimed mayor of Golden Hill, is what she calls herself. But anybody who lives in that area, and I think a lot of people know who Judy is and know, the Big Kitchen. And this musical, this project, is based, on her life and on the Big Kitchen, and how the Big Kitchen was like a place where community was built and where a community got together to really make an impact and change in the world. And how something as simple as feeding people in a place that opened up its arms to anyone, and how making a community around food, how that strong bond can really inspire and motivate people to do good. Her story is really inspiring. It really is. This is the 4th time that I have been involved that we're going to be putting up a version of the show. And what's super exciting about it this time around is I'm directing the piece, and I'll be acting in it as well. My creative team, we are taking the current script that we have been working with and adapting it, changing it, if you will, to focus more on the message of community and focusing it more on how, as people, if we stand together, united with love in our hearts, how powerful we as a force can be, which really aligns actually with the Poolhouse Project.
Yeah, I was going to say, there seems to be a bit of a theme going in what you're doing. It really
is complete. And it just so happened, you know what I mean? That maybe it didn't, maybe that was serendipitous as well. But, so the music, the characters, the message of that really is about community and how we as a people can really make a difference, and about the generations. Judy in the 80s and 90s, was a really strong political. She was an activist, stood up for a lot of different things, and there were a lot of things that happened in her era that were jarring, to Americans as well. And something that I feel is a little bit different, is that our generation perhaps has found ourselves in a little bit more of a complacent state, and so maybe this message really is more to our generation. Like, we can't be complacent. Like, look at our elders, look at what they did. They made a change, and they are passing the baton to us and saying, don't just sit down and take it, don't just complain about it. Like, be active, do something about it. So, again, hopefully that's like a message that will inspire people to do. To do.
I can't remember if we were talking about it on one of the podcasts or if it was just a conversation I had with somebody else, but that kind of sliding scale of how one generation really has to bust their ass and sacrifice and give so much, and each kind of succeeding generation that follows has a little easier. And the protests just become protests without any real substance behind them because they're not having to fight so much.
I think we're having that conversation about feminism.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the protests are great, but there's more, and it's wonderful to show that, but there's more that can be done.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things that, like, if we take the feminism standpoint, like, 100 years ago, they couldn't vote. They couldn't show their ankles, Yes. I mean, it was like there were real daily grind kind of things that needed to be fought for, and they got fought for, and they won. But the things that are like I brought up free the nipple, like the big complaint now is I can't walk around without my shirt on. It's like, it's a whole different kind of like, the impact of those two things are very different.
Was very tactile things, where the other's sort of social things, right? Like, okay, we can get certain places in the workplace, but there's still this just under the surface sort of misogynistic. Yes, thank you. I was looking for that word. I'm like, it's right there.
That wasn't me mansplaining. That was just me trying to help you through.
I appreciate it. You saw it like just floating right above my head. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a more subtle thing that needs to be fought for now, and so it's a little harder to put your thumb on how do you go about that, or some of the issues with women being in the military that still exist. It's like we've come to this point, but it still needs to be refined and shaped, and
that's the thing about like change. Like, it's never going to be finished. Like, our society has to adapt to things constantly. I mean, our world's continually going to be changing, and we have to keep up, or else we find ourselves in very uncomfortable situations. So, yeah. So that's project number 2.
Okay.
And then I am also going to be acting in a play called Please Take a Seat, directed by Jen Thorne of Moxie. And let me see, and that's it for Fringe.
Seems like a lot.
That's just for Fringe. That's just through July.
Yes, that's just
early July at that.
Yes. Yeah. I feel very blessed to be constantly working. I do. It's fun. It's crazy. I'm confused sometimes as to how I don't have multiple personalities. But
well, you do. You just put them on stage.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So technically, acting's kind of like therapy.
Yeah, but not.
Yeah, so
you're supposed to tell yourself it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
You might work some stuff out on stage, but that wasn't the intent.
Right, yeah.
Maybe it's more like exorcism than therapy.
This is where I nod my head and smile, right?
Lydia's curtain calls her, I have exorcised my demons. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to do that.
In that southern twang, too. I believe it.
I have exorcised my demons. Thank you.
Oh, it's so funny. What about film? Have you done much in the way of film?
I really have not. It's funny because I'm friends with, a lot of actors who are pretty active in the film community, Whitney being one of them as well. And I keep saying, I really kind of want to, try out the film thing. I did the 48-hour film festival like 2 years ago, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and super exciting and really stressful and kind of awesome. And then just a couple like random extra things here and there, but I not really, and some like student, film stuff, but not a lot, like not enough that I have a reel. See, don't even know the terminology.
Yep. No, I thought you were grabbing for it.
Yes,
it's just
yes.
She was mansplaining for you.
Whitney. Yeah. I've been a theater actress most of my life, so
Yeah.
But I think that it's silly for me to not, open myself up to that world because. Well,
why not?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I think you're on our list of people for next weekend for the 48. Yeah. So, hopefully whatever story we decide to come up with, we'll find a spot for you.
I'm waiting.
You can come up Friday night, be part of the whole story creation and everything. Like, that's a lot of fun too.
You guys are going to be here, right?
Yeah.
I have a show.
Friday. So among the other
How late
things,
does it run to? What show is it?
So I am an ensemble cast member for Mystery Cafe, Murder Mystery Dinner Theater. This is my 5th show with them. There are a couple of them here in San Diego, but Mystery Cafe is actually the original San Diego interactive dinner theater company. They've been around for 26 years at the Imperial House, right next to Balboa Park on Calamia and 6th. And this is my 5th season with them as an ensemble member. Just kind of cool. The show that we're doing right now is I Do Now Die. It's an 80s themed wedding murder mystery.
Nice.
Yeah, it's tons of fun.
And people are encouraged to dress up, and they do.
Yes, they do. They do.
People love dressing up in 80s garb.
They
It's bizarre.
do. It was one of the draws for my owners, Mary and Sean Greiner, to write this play. This is a premiere, so this is the first year that they've done this particular show. And people just love the 80s. They really, really do. I mean, I have seen so many jelly bracelets and neon in the past couple of months. I forgot that, like,
it's all the damn Gen Xers trying to relive their childhood.
Crimped hair.
Is it though? Because I also definitely see some millennials in that style. It's not quite 80s. Like, it's what they think the 80s was.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I do that every weekend on Friday and Saturday nights, unless I am cast for another show. And then we have a rotating cast, so we've got understudies and people that play dual roles and stuff. So it's a great gig. It is. It's a great gig for an actress to have. So that is one of the other things I'm doing. So is that all
you do now? Is just creative stuff? Do you?
Yeah.
You're able to take care of everything that way?
Yes,
that's
which
great.
Is really amazing. I'm a teaching artist, so I teach theater and creative writing and creative goal setting, actually. I work for Arts for Learning San Diego. They're such a fantastic organization for all of you artists that are out there and, want to spread the love of creativity. Teaching artists are fantastic. But yes, I teach kids through Arts for Learning San Diego. I also am a teacher for San Diego Writers Inc., which is where I do most of my creative goal setting and like creativity workshops, if you will. So nice. I teach and I act and do creative stuff.
And judging by the smile while you're saying all that, you're very happy.
My life does not suck. I am. I'm happy.
Well, Lydia, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to come and talk to us.
It's my pleasure.
Really enjoyable to have you on the show. And
Thank you.
Lots of smiles today. Lots.
Yes.
Yeah, you've been on my target list of people to have on the show for a long time. So Whitney's like, "Can we get Lydia on?" I'm like, "Absolutely.
Yay!
Bring her up. Let's
it was
happen."
fun. This was fun.
Yeah.
I was just talking.
Yeah.
I like the big microphone in front of me.
That's all it is.
Cool. So thank you guys so much for having me on the show.
Thank you.
Of course.
And we'll put the links to all of the many things you're involved in on the Intellectual Podcast
Fantastic.
On
website,
the show page.
on the show page. So it'll have all the Fringe stuff and the murder mystery stuff and whatever other stuff you.
Yeah, send us whatever links you want on that page.
Wonderful.
We'll
We'll
throw them
do.
in.
Thank you guys.
Cool. Thanks,
All right.
Lydia.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Hello there, citizens. I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the floaty that will not flush no matter how many times you try in the toilet bowl of crime. I am Darkwing Duck, telling you please, talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. Whatever the heck that means. After all, you are watching Intellectual Podcast with your ears.